Chapter 9: The Art of Motivation. Whether you are pursuing your personal goal through the corporate world, entrepreneurship, or investing, you will have to understand motivation, communication, and implementation as it relates to you and everyone around you if you are to achieve the art of productivity. Oftentimes, the hardest person to understand is ourselves. Too many of us have a tendency to live in the past because we know all of our own shortcomings and keep repeating to ourselves all of our past stumbles and continually drag them into our future. We are not the person we were in the past unless we choose to be. Even if you have experienced multiple failures before, you are no longer that person because you have the wisdom and the knowledge that have come from those experiences. You have heard it said that insanity is continually doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Conversely, wisdom dictates that if a certain behavior has brought us failure, we simply need to change the behavior in order to alter our future. Once you have identified and connected with yourself and how to best utilize motivation, communication, and implementation in your individual world, you've got to be committed to continually monitoring the changes in your own life and how they impact you. Shakespeare may have said it best when he wrote, "To thine own self be true." Like all great wisdom, this is exceedingly simple to say and unbelievably difficult to master. You'll be happy to know that you do not have to achieve perfection in order to enjoy your personal success. Some of my favorite baseball players have gone into the Hall of Fame by failing more times at the plate than they succeeded. Donald Trump has always meant a lot to me and is an example, a role model, and a mentor. I have learned a great deal from him both by watching his success and his setbacks. When Donald succeeds, he does it on a grand scale, and when he stumbles, he does it the same way. But like you and I must do, he gets up, brushes himself off, and begins again. In the process of mastering motivation on your way to your personal success through the art of productivity, you've got to determine the most productive way to constantly motivate yourself as well as each individual person with whom you work. Remember, whether you spend your workday locked in a small office in your basement typing on a computer, or in the middle of a mega corporate surrounded by many thousands of colleagues, we all work with ourselves and work with others. We've got to pull the maximum motivational trigger for everyone, and it is not a one-size-fits-all proposition. Let's start with the premise that you probably don't understand what motivates you, and you certainly don't get accurate feedback regarding what motivates your colleagues, co-workers, and associates. The higher up the ladder you are, and the more important you are to those with whom you work, the more difficult it is to get accurate feedback. If the CEO of a corporate asked anyone in the building how they like his tie on any given day, how often do you think he's going to get accurate and constructive feedback? If that same CEO spends considerable time, effort, energy, and money developing a strategy or program to motivate all of his people and then present it in a company-wide meeting, he is likely to be showered with compliments and applause regardless of what they really think. I have worked with many top corporations and I'm constantly amazed to discover how long those who make the decisions know about how best to motivate the people for whom they are responsible. People are not exactly lying. They are given answers and feedback that they feel is in their own enlightened self-interest. If you're at your family Thanksgiving dinner and in front of the whole tribe, Aunt Matilda asks you what you think of her baked squash casserole, I suspect even if you think Aunt Matilda's baked squash casserole tastes like wallpaper paste, you're going to come up with some kind of answer that is at least neutral, if not positive. Just as people want to preserve Aunt Matilda's feelings, they certainly want to preserve their job, livelihood, and family's financial security. Therefore, it is important to realize that if you're the boss, you're probably not getting accurate feedback on how best to motivate your people. This creates a false environment where nothing ever changes. If you're going to reach your personal success goal through the art of productivity, utilizing motivation, communication, and implementation, you're going to have to be honest with yourself and those around you. And you're going to have to create an environment where people are comfortable being honest with you. The term motivation is among the most misunderstood terms in our business and success vocabulary. For years, people have labeled me a motivational speaker, columnist, or author. While I understand the title and even appreciate their intentions, it is important to note that I don't motivate anyone, nor does anyone else. The most you can hope to do is find someone's hot button or something that resonates within an area inside their soul where they are already motivated. Remember, we can never succeed by confusing activity with productivity. If all you want is frantic activity, you can get your people to appear motivated through fear, intimidation, or coercion. You could walk into your office tomorrow and tell everyone with a threatening tone that you are going to begin terminating people until the corporate motivation level improves. What you will get is a group of people who will smile, act busy, and probably say, "Yes, sir," or "Yes, ma'am," but you have not motivated anyone. In fact, you have actually demotivated everyone. Your intentions to motivate those around you will fail and even be counterproductive if they are not specific, targeted, mutually beneficial, and sincere. You may think you're motivating one of your associates by recognizing their birthday and telling them how much they mean to you and your organization. While this seems like a motivating gesture, if their birthday was 7.5 months ago, you will have an individual who is less motivated than they were before. Motivation has got to be specific. Many years ago, I am certain a football coach somewhere read that rousing music could motivate his team. So for many years, players suited up while listening to what their coach thought was motivating. The last time I visited a football locker room before a big game, it was as silent as a morgue. Some of the players were lounging, others were stretching, while still others were reviewing playbooks. Most of the players were wearing headsets attached to their iPods. I later learned from the trainer that some of the players before a game like to listen to loud rock music on their headsets, while others listen to rap, classical, jazz, and every imaginable style of music. Still, other players listen to sound effects of an ocean, a forest, or simply white noise. And still other players preferred silence. If you simply assumed one thing was motivating for everyone, he would have failed miserably to motivate and would have actually demotivated many of the players. One of the things my late great friend and colleague Zig Ziglar said is that motivation is individualized and it is in constant demand. He told me he had met a gentleman who explained to him he didn't need to go to a motivational meeting because he had been to many of them and had heard it all. Zig asked him if he took a shower today. The gentleman in question was a bit bewildered but nodded in the affirmative and let Zig know he had taken a shower. Zig told him that motivation was a bit like taking a shower. The shower you took last week, last month, or last year has probably worn off by now. My university training is in the fields of psychology and sociology. Much of the current thinking would tell us that we human beings do everything we do for one or two reasons: to either gain pleasure or to avoid pain. While these are certainly valid motivators, I would submit that the majority of people you see daily commuting on the freeways, subways, or sidewalks are going back to their job just as they did yesterday and the day before, more out of a sense of habit and routine than any form of motivation. At one point in the past, they may have been motivated by their job, or at least they were more motivated about getting a job than starving to death. However, this is far from the motivation that you and I seek to reach our personal success through the art of productivity. Remember, whether you work in the large corporation in the world, a small business, or by yourself as an entrepreneur or investor, we all are part of a team, and only those of us who recognize this fact can succeed by achieving the art of productivity. Your team is much like a jumbo jet airliner. There may be 400 people on board, all going to the same destination. However, there are as many different motivations for the trip as there are people in the seats. The pilot, co-pilots, and flight attendants are doing their jobs. However, some members of the crew may have a total passion for flying or serving the traveling public, while others are simply marking time, putting in their hours because they don't know what else to do. Among the passengers on board, you might find people going to weddings, funerals, graduation, vacations, moving to or from a new city, or a myriad of other motivating factors. There will be people on board from whom this flight will be an unforgettable experience because it is taking them to a once-in-a-lifetime event. They may be sitting next to a tired, bored business person who is on their fourth or fifth flight of the week. I have met people who think they are motivated by money, but in reality they are motivated by their perception of what money can do for them in their lives. Money is a poor motivator unless it is attached to the vision of what the money will do for you. Some of the saddest people I know are trying to put more zeros on their bank statements each month, unless the pursuit of money is attached to college tuition, comfortable retirement, exciting travel, philanthropic gifts, financial security, or a myriad of other valid utilizations. This pursuit of money is the sign of a serious disease called more. If all you want is more money, but you have not defined a significant use for that money, you are like the guy trying to put more gas in a tank that is already full in a car that has no destination. A vehicle and fuel are useless if you don't have a personal goal. A nicer vehicle and more fuel will not solve your challenge. You've got to find that personal goal that sends you on a lifelong mission with passion then you will have achieved the art of productivity. It is hard to imagine that money could even be a motivation for some people. I am proud to say that I consider Steve Forbes among my friends. He is a respected colleague and a valuable example and encourager to me. I cannot imagine Steve Forbes being motivated by money other than as a means to keep score as he strives to improve himself and his organization. Steve Forbes was born with more money than most of us will ever have or even imagine. One of the many reasons I admire him is the fact that he recognizes that his role in the world is to provide service and value to his colleagues and customers. He knows that the eventual result of providing this service and creating value in the lives of others is that he and those around him will make more money. But the money in and of itself is not a motivator, only what it can do or what it represents. Most people, individually or corporately, make the mistake of looking at each task or objective as a series of questions. They look at what are we doing, where are we doing it, who are we doing it with, how are we doing it, and when do we start. These are all critical questions that should be answered right after you answer the question that the motivation portion of the